Chapter 1. Chains of Starlight. The transport ship Graven Star rumbled through the void, its engines humming like a distant, angry beast. Inside the cargo hold, lined with cells made of energized plasma bars, sat dozens of abducted humans, refugees from Earth's scattered colonies, prisoners of the Ilani. The Ilani Empire had not waged war. It had simply purchased, bribed, and outmaneuvered every outpost in its path. The people of Sol System weren't conquered. They were acquired. Terra Varin sat cross-legged in her cell, her wrists bearing faint red lines where the shackles had been. She wasn't used to captivity. No one ever is, but she wore defiance like armor. Her thick black curls had frizzed from the ship's dry air, and her sharp eyes scanned the guards without flinching. She had been a resistance runner on the outer moons of Saturn. She'd been captured during a raid, taken while smuggling medicine to a dying colony. Now she was another asset, to be auctioned at the elite Ilani trade stations. She watched as an officer approached, tall, draped in dark ceremonial robes, with silver eyes like frozen starlight. Lot 718, the officer announced. Terra stood spine straight. I'm not a lot. I'm not a number. I'm no one's property. Her voice echoed against the metal walls. The other prisoners lifted their heads slightly, watching her. The officer raised a brow and tapped a device. The plasma bars vanished. Your buyer disagrees, he said with bored finality. Two guards stepped forward. Terra lunged, not away but toward them, fast as a solar flare. She landed a punch on one's jaw, ducked a taser lash, and made it 2 steps before something struck her in the back and darkness claimed her. Chapter 2. The General and the Ghost. She awoke on silk. Real silk, not synth fiber. Her muscles tensed automatically, and she leapt from the bed, only to collapse as her legs gave out. Easy, a calm voice said. You were hit with a neuronet. Your motor functions are still calibrating. She turned her head to see him. He was not what she expected. He wasn't Ilani. At least not entirely. His features were human, mostly. His eyes were that same silver hue as the Ilani officers, but his skin was sun-warmed, and his jaw bore the faint roughness of a man who shaved only when he felt like it. He wore a sleek black uniform with no insignia, only a narrow chain around his neck bearing a crystal that glowed faintly blue. Who the hell are you? Terra spat. He tilted his head, studying her with disarming calm. General Kalen Eris. And you are no one's property. Not anymore. She narrowed her eyes. You bought me. I reclaimed you, he corrected. There's a difference. Oh, so now I'm reclaimed property. She pushed herself up, her strength returning. That's not better. He said nothing for a moment. Then, would you like to leave? She blinked. Kalen walked to the door of the chamber, pressed his hand to the panel, and it hissed open. Beyond was not a prison hallway, but a lush, sunlit atrium, with tall crystal windows overlooking a serene alien landscape. You're free to go, he said. There are no guards, no tracking devices. If you want off-world transport, I'll arrange it. Terra stared. Her instincts screamed trap. But something about his voice. Why? She asked finally. Kalen's eyes lingered on her. Because I used to be like you. Chapter 3. Shadows of Purpose. Over the next few days, Terra remained. Not out of trust, but to gather intel, explore escape routes, and understand her would-be captor. But as time passed, she came to a frustrating realization. Kalen Eris was telling the truth. The estate, if you could call a floating arcology in low orbit an estate, was mostly empty. staffed by a handful of bioservants and old soldiers. The general spent his time either reading in the study or out in the hangar modifying ships. He didn't demand her presence. He didn't ask her to serve or obey. In fact, he avoided her. So she sought him out. "You were Ilani military?" she asked him one evening, leaning against the hangar wall as he tuned the thruster coils of a starfighter. "High Command," he replied without looking up. "And you quit?" "I defected. When I realized we were no longer a people, we were an empire of chains." She looked at him carefully. "So this is your penance? Buying humans and setting them free?" Kalen turned to her, his face shadowed by a low-hanging lamp. "Not buying. Rescuing. Every name on that manifest. I've committed to freeing them." "And then what? You play savior. Expect us to bow." His voice was soft. "I expect nothing. Least of all gratitude." Tara hesitated. "And me? Why me first?" Kalen smiled faintly. "Because when you screamed, 'I'm no one's property,' you reminded me of the first time I said it." Something clenched in her chest. She looked away. Chapter 4. The Breaking Point. It happened during a raid. Tara had been outside the walls, walking the cliffs, when the alarms rang. Ilani strike drones. Vest. Silent. Deadly. She ran back, her legs flying over broken stone, to see the hangar smoking. Kalen was already in the fray, plasma rifle in one hand, sword in the other, moving like death itself. 3 drones dropped. The 4th flanked him. She didn't think, she acted. Grabbed a fuel rod. Smashed the drone from behind, even as the shockwave knocked her off her feet. Kalen stood above her, extending a hand. "You didn't have to do that," he said. Tara took his hand, breathing hard. "Neither did you." Their eyes met and something changed. Chapter 5. The Edge of Choice. Later that night, they sat near the engine glow of a grounded ship. The air between them buzzed with tension. "I hated you," Tara said softly. Kalen nodded. "I know. I still might." He smiled. She turned to him. "But I don't want to leave." He looked away. She reached for his hand. "You said I was free. That hasn't changed. But what if I choose to stay?" Kalen studied her, eyes unreadable. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "Neither do you. Yet here we are." Silence. Then he leaned forward, just enough for his forehead to brush hers. A whisper. "Then stay. Not as property. Not as a prisoner. As whatever you want to be." Chapter 6. The Fire Within. Days turned into weeks. Together, they tracked the remaining human captives on Ilani auction lists. Together, they infiltrated a moon stronghold to extract a stolen child. Tara flew the escape ship herself, dodging missiles while Kalen shouted coordinates. They fought, laughed, ate meals over blue-lit maps, fell asleep in the war room, her head on his shoulder, and slowly, painfully, they became something the universe rarely allowed. Equals. One evening, after a long mission, they stood on the edge of the estate's balcony, overlooking the twin stars that bathed the alien sky in molten gold. Kalen turned to her. "You still feel like yelling, 'I'm no one's property?'" Tara smiled. "Every damn day." Then she took his hand. "But I'll never leave your side." Chapter 7. The Promise. Their story wasn't perfect. No love story that rises from ruin ever is. But when Tara walked beside Kalen through fire and storm, when she spoke for the silenced and fought for the lost, the stars themselves seemed to bow. She was no one's property. She was a storm, flame. And she had found another soul strong enough to walk with her, Never ahead, never behind, but always beside. And that made all the difference.